Top five altcoins that are going to be having some potential moving forward in respect to the year of 2018, in particular quarter two, as we've seen quarter one, and now we're starting to move forward into the next half of 2018. It seems only appropriate to make a video that essentially covers the technologies that are going to be having potential moving forward. And there's really a lot to talk about when it comes to the potential that's coming up in respect to cryptocurrency and the developments that are happening in the space. In this past month, we've really seen a lot of activity happening. Back, just for a quick recap, in April, we were seeing things pretty far down. A lot of people were feeling pretty depressed about cryptocurrency back in April, and then of course there was a resurgence of activity happening. A lot of different whales came on board, and we saw a lot of upward mobility and a real renewal of confidence. If I'm going to be entirely honest regarding cryptocurrency, it seems as if the public consciousness has really come a long way in such a short amount of time, which is something that's essentially become one of the hallmarks of cryptocurrency. So without any further ado, I suppose we'll get right into the list. First on the list of the technologies is of course Ripple, and we've talked about Ripple before on this video, in this channel before, and it's no question that Ripple is definitely going to be a really important cryptocurrency as we continue to move forward and we see the developments that are happening in the establishment. Certainly it's going to be important for these various institutions to be really striking significant deals when it comes to cryptocurrency, and Ripple is really one of those technologies that's I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of the different developments that they have in store for themselves, in particular when it comes to the deal that they've recently made with Apple. It's definitely really interesting to see how Ripple is definitely blazing a trail for the rest of the cryptocurrency community to follow. And when we look at the fact that Ripple is of course at that number 3 position, the really coveted number 3 position, I think that the potential for Ripple to overtake Ethereum for that number 2 position is definitely really within reach when you consider the fact that Ripple seems to be a favored technology when it comes to where the banks have been expressing their interests and so forth. It seems as if Ripple is really going to, especially when you look at the track record of what's going to be happening in the future of Ripple, in this next half of 2018, it really looks as if we'll be seeing a lot of potential in store for this technology in particular. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Ripple will be expanding, and of course the community that's built itself around Ripple. There's a lot to be said in that regard. So yeah, definitely make sure that you follow Ripple on their Twitter. Twitter is a really great resource when it comes to cryptocurrency and all that. And of course, make sure that you follow me on my Twitter as well. That's at CryptoTuber, and I'll actually be including a link to my Twitter down in the description below. So for those of you who are interested in contributing to the conversation that's happening, it's really awesome. So yeah, but number 2 on the list, and of course this is in no particular order, we have of course Nucleus Vision, and Encash is definitely one of the technologies that I'm definitely paying attention to as far as watching the developments that are happening. When it comes to the Internet of Things, we're really going to be in store for a lot of interesting developments that are happening across the mainstream, and of course every level of society is pretty much going to be influenced by the Internet of Things as we continue to move forward. In particular, when you consider how many people all around the world are getting smartphones, well, it basically, in comparison to the fact of how many just everyday objects are being connected to the internet, it's really an unprecedented time when it comes to the application of the internet, and really the future of the technologies that are going to survive is basically the ones that are going to be able to leverage this shift in paradigm that we're currently experiencing. And I think Nucleus Vision is definitely one of those technologies that's taking advantage of this opportunity as we continue to move forward. In particular, nucleus vision is definitely one of those technologies that, for instance, when you consider retail outlets and people who go in there with their smartphone and all their data and so forth, they basically have an opportunity to share their consumer preference data with those retail outlets. And nucleus vision is really coming up with a membership program that puts the data, the power of data, back into the hands of the consumer, which might not seem like such an exciting thing right now, but moving forward, we're definitely going to see the public consciousness regarding data intensify, as it has already intensified quite a bit up until this point. We've definitely seen in the news the conversation regarding data has really been expanding, and we've seen a lot of the different things happening in that regard. So it is definitely interesting to see how nucleus vision, connecting the unconnected, how this technology has really been moving forward and expanding itself. And there's been a really great community that's built around nucleus vision so far, and keeping in alignment with that trend and the different possibilities that are in store for nucleus vision. I would say that moving forward in 2018, and especially nucleus vision is one of those long-term perspective technologies that are really doing some important things that are going to really help cryptocurrency moving forward. And of course, number 3 on the list, and like I said, this list is in no particular order, but we have Tron, TRX, and we've spoken about Tron before, and there are definitely a lot of really exciting things that are happening with Tron. I would say that looking forward, the decentralized side of the internet is certainly flexing its muscles, and we're seeing a resurgence in demand when it comes to the technologies in that regard. So certainly Tron is one of those that's really positioning itself in a key substantial way in regards to that similar conversation that's been happening regarding people who've been more conscious of their data and the way that the certain mechanisms of how they've been interacting on the internet are going to be really manifesting themselves in the light of day. And I think, of course, with all the things that Tron has laid out for itself in the upcoming months, in particular the mainnet, and of course all the various different things, the new definition of Tron, the fact that it's moving out of that token status, and basically the whole new interpretation of it should have a really interesting impact on the community. And I'm certainly interested in seeing what happens to the value of Tron after that 31st of this month. We should be seeing a lot of interesting developments happening with Tron. So certainly there's a lot of different interesting things that are to be happening very soon regarding Tron. So certainly one of those technologies that I would recommend paying attention to. And of course, it is important to pay attention to the team that's working on these technologies as well. In particular, Justin Sun. I've been keeping an eye on Justin Sun, and it seems as if there's some really big things in store for Tron, especially when it comes to various different partnerships and expansions in the realms of the technology and the application and just the everyday usage. Because when I look at the list of cryptocurrencies on here, I always think to myself, how are these technologies going to be acting in the real world? And when it comes to Tron, it's definitely one of those technologies that's going to, in my opinion, I would say going to be looking very impressive as we continue to move forward. But of course, remember, standard disclaimer, I'm not your dad. This is not financial advice. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. As always, this is just my opinion, and I'm basically just sharing my opinion for discussion purposes and all that. So if you're interested in sharing your opinion with the show and so forth, you could connect with us on Twitter. Or like I said, the official Twitter is at CryptoTuber. And moving right along, so Tron would be on the list, and then of course I would say Neo. Neo is certainly one of those technologies that's going to be having a really substantial future in store for it. I've spoken of Neo plenty of times before on this channel. It's always important to stay up to date regarding Neo. And when it comes to China and the way that, China is really a superpower when it comes to the global economy, and they're expressing an interest in cryptocurrency, and so far Neo has really been at the center of it. So it's definitely something interesting to see how the smart economy has been developing, and I'm sure that we're in store for seeing a lot of interesting interesting things happening with Neo as we continue to move forward. I mean, their value is at right now at $64, and that's pretty far from where it was just a little while ago. We were seeing it at that $150 mark, but I think it's well within Neo's potential to revisit those all-time highs. I mean, currently, when we look at the global market cap at that $385 billion mark, and of course, with a small correction that we're currently seeing right now. But of course, we have to remember, if we were seeing this sort of volatility in a space like the stock market, this would be unprecedented. So when it comes to cryptocurrency, you have to understand that there are a lot of different variables in store. But yeah, when it comes to Neo, I would definitely say that in keeping with the conversation about Neo, deep brain chain is also one of those really interesting technologies to keep an eye on when it comes to artificial intelligence and the sort of incorporation that could be made possible. I think deep brain chain is definitely an important technology to be keeping an eye on with all the different things that are happening within the year of 2018. And of course, moving forward in the long term, artificial intelligence is sort of one of those really important things that's important to pay attention to. So yeah, definitely recommend you follow Deep Brain Chain as well on Twitter and stay up to date. And of course, all this is just my opinion. I'm just recommending people should do their own research regarding these technologies because it's always important to stay educated regarding cryptocurrencies because, of course, knowledge is power. But and then I'd say number 5 on the list would be Electronium. And of course, I think with the mobile mining and all these different variables as they've come together, I think Electronium really does stand a chance to really position themselves to connect people from all around the world, which has really been a hallmark of cryptocurrencies. And of course, we have to keep an eye on Bitcoin as well, where they currently stand at that 8,440. Even if you're not in particularly paying too much attention to Bitcoin, it's really hard to ignore because whatever happens to it is going to be sending a really an impact through the entire community. So really, when it comes to the general consensus of cryptocurrencies, it's interesting to pay attention to the news because it gives you an idea of what the public consciousness is regarding these technologies. And it seems as if we're moving right along. It's definitely interesting to see how people have come to express interest in cryptocurrency where there probably wasn't interest before. But of course, this is all just my opinion. And in the spirit of providing different opinions, I'm actually including a link to this Crypto Love video where he talks about his top 10 crypto picks for Q2 of 2018. And I think it's always important to listen to various different perspectives when it comes to these technologies. And yeah, I think when it comes to these, it's really interesting. I think it's definitely really promising to see the different potential that's in store right across the board for any of the cryptocurrencies. In the top, I'd say 200 are really in store to see some significant things, especially when you consider how early in the game we are. We should all count ourselves lucky for being interested in cryptocurrency at such an early time in the space, and we have enough opportunities to do our own research and so forth regarding these technologies. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.